Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Jack Thompson. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, could be a commentary, a tier list, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. As I take a drink. Now, this is an interesting one because Jack Thompson wanted me to revisit an older video I made, which is still on the channel. And it's from about 10, 11 years ago, because this is around the time Expendables 2 had come out. I did rewatch the video, and believe it or not, and it's still up, I actually said I thought Expendables 2 was an okay movie. I remember listening, I'm like, I said what? Back then, people will not believe this, but back then I was a lot more optimistic on movies. And I was a bit more willing to give movies a chance. I was a lot less cynical. But that was before all this stuff of just X-Files revivals and Rambo 5s and everything I've heard, John Wick 4, which pisses me off, to 10th Power, and everything in between. From Kim Smith and what he's done, the Michael Bay produced Ninja Turtle movies. I remember an older video I did where I said I looked forward to that movie. This is before we saw any pictures. Oh, Michael Bay's doing okay, you know, fun, dumb action. I like Bad Boys 1 and 2. And okay, did some big budget and action sequences, and then didn't know that he was going to produce a film where they would fart. And Mikey would fart in his brother's faces, stuck in a tunnel hole. And, you know, my shell was tightening boner jokes. And looked like the Michelin Man or Shrek had a bunch of, I don't know, Shrek, Bill Cosby, the damn Goomba, and they had 4 fucked up kids. And Shredder looks like Megatron. I mean, it was before a lot of things. But anyway, as I'm like 3 minutes in, it was a video that said 11 directors who deserve another shot. And he wanted me to look over those 11 directors and see where they're at 10, 11 years later. I thought, okay, that's a very interesting, you know, topic idea. Thank you, Jack Thompson. I'm going to read the 11 names real quick, and then we'll go back. The 11 names I had picked for directors who deserve another shot was Steve Wang, Michael Davis, Scott Mann, Marco Brambilla, Ben Ramsey, Mark DiSalle, John McTiernan, Joseph Merhi, Rick Avery, Kurt Wimmer, and Fred Decker. Man, some of these have changed, and those last two I would just take off. So let's go back. Steve Wang. I had chosen him because he was a makeup effects guy, worked a lot with Stan Winston. He worked on, I believe, the Dealman creature on the Monster Squad. I think he worked on Predator with Stan Winston, the original Predator. And he had directed films like Guyver 2 Dark Hero. He did Drive with Martha Costos, which is great. And by now we have the MVD Blu-ray. I believe 88 Films did a Blu-ray as well. I think there was a 4K. Great, fun, entertaining movie, especially Drive with Martha Costos and Kadeem Hardison. Still a lot of fun. I'm like, you know what, this guy would make, you know, I would give him a shot to do Ninja Turtles, because he's worked with martial arts and people in suits in Guyver 2 Dark Hero, and then he also dealt with martial arts, but also camaraderie between actors and maybe sense of humor. You could delve into it, but it's not like in Drive. This guy, and he's worked with makeup effects against Stan Winston's, and That'd be a great attribute for the Ninja Turtle characters and what they look like and their designs. I'm like, wow, he'd be a great fit. And to be perfectly honest, he didn't really do a whole lot. He did TV show Kamen Rider episodes, and he hasn't really done any direction since 2010. So ever since that video, he really didn't do anything other than some makeup. He was a supervising art director on Bill and Ted 3. I mean, it's not his fault Bill and Ted 3 sucked. So, supervising art director in Bill and Ted Face the Music. So sadly, since then, no one gave him a shot to direct anything of merit movie-wise, and it's a shame. Nowadays, I don't trust any movie and any director, so I wouldn't be able to do this. Which director deserve another shot? Nobody. Just I want Hollywood to explode. See, I'm a very... I got a very dark heart nowadays in terms of movies in Hollywood. So sadly, Steve Wayne didn't do anything. Michael Davis, he was the guy who did Shoot 'Em Up with Clive Owen, which I thought was a very underrated action film in 2007. I think it's one of the most underrated films of the 2000s. It's very silly, it's ridiculous, but it's fun, it's over the top. It's like a John Woo mixed in with Bugs Bunny. Because literally, Clive Owen is acting at times like Bugs Bunny, eating carrots, saying certain lines, insane, crazy action, just wall to wall. Which is crazy because you see what John Wick films, at least the first three, fuck the fourth one. Not going to into why, but fuck that movie. I've never seen John Wick 4. People stop asking. It's cool that people ask. I've never seen that film. It can eat my balls. But the first two John Wick films, you see the action stuff. I'm like, Shoot 'Em Up was doing that before John Wick. And if I was Michael Davis, I'd be kicking myself in the foot going, Shoot 'Em Up could have been the John Wick of its time. And I don't know if it was marketing. I don't know if it was what it was, but it's sad that it didn't come to be. And sadly, Michael Davis didn't direct anything. He did an animated film, Riding Shotgun. It was 6 minutes long. And then it says in 2022 he did a 2-hour cartoon called Nixed, which the plot is Richard Nixon solves JFK's assassination. And it's like an animated cartoon. It said 2022, but I could not find any information as to if it got released, what happened to it. Wow, just like Nixon is solving JFK's assassination. That's just so weird that it might be interesting. I don't know if it needs to be 2 hours, but you don't want it to be. There's like no user reviews, no ratings, like it's never been released. There's pictures. It is called Nixed, Nixed. So, but sadly, he hasn't really done anything else, which is too bad. The next guy, though, has Scott Mann. And sadly, of all of them, he's the one that got another shot, and he made it worthwhile. I'm hesitating because I look at some of the other guys down the list, and I'm like, Jesus. Quite the opposite way. But Scott Mann, he had done a film called The Tournament, which I still think is a fairly underrated action film. Got Ving Rhames in it. Got an early role by Scott Adkins. Pretty damn good action movie if you like those type of movies. The Tournament. Like a bunch of your assassins going after each other. Now Scott Mann would go on to do Heist, also known as Bus 657, which that's a pretty damn decent, underrated direct-to-video. I know it's streaming, but I always call it direct-to-video. Where you got Jeffrey Dean Morgan starring as a guy who can't pay for his daughter's medical bills, so he's got to work in criminal activities to try to steal some money from Robert De Niro's character. And at one point, Jeffrey Dean Morgan gets on a bus, and you got Batista in there, Dave Batista, Gina Carano. Gina Carano's in the film. Mark Paul Gosselaar, Zach from Saved by the Bell, he's in the movie. It's actually a pretty good cast. Some fairly competent action scenes. The one trailer that was the Bus 657, it's a pretty well edited trailer. It has a nice motif on wheels on the bus go round and round. But they do the music in a different way to make it updated and exciting. And sadly, Bus 657 was honestly the better title because it just felt more different, more unique. But then they took the movie and they just called it Heist, which is such a generic title. There's other movies called Heist. I think there's one with Gene Hackman called Heist. I could be wrong. And then the trailer did not use the wheels on the bus music motif. I don't know why. Does that actually really work with the older? You can find it on YouTube if you type in the Bus 657 trailer and you do a little bit of digging. But yeah, that's a pretty good one. Am I okay, Scott Mann? That's 2 movies that I like from you. Then he worked with Dave Bautista again on Final Score, which, if you like Dave Bautista, it's worth a watch. It's his version of Die Hard. Yes, it's not a theatrical budgeted movie, but I mean, it's more like sudden death. Like if you took Jean-Claude Van Damme's Sudden Death, but instead of a hockey game, it's a soccer game. I know it's supposed to be called football, but I'm in the U.S. and we called it soccer. Because Dave Bautista goes overseas and he's seen some family. There's a stadium and there's bad guys taking over, and Dave Bautista has to kick the bad guy ass, like Sudden Death, like Die Hard. Pierce Brosnan is in the film. And again, Dave Bautista, he's actually turned out to be a pretty damn decent actor. And Final Score, very worthwhile if you like those type of action films. Another one for Scott Mann. Now, Scott Mann also did that film that came out, I think, last year called Fall, where the 2 people are way up high on that, what was it, a tower in the middle of nowhere. And that was a film I was pretty mixed on. It is my least favorite of the films I've seen of his. I didn't outright hate it. There's definitely quite a few sequences that really give you the feel of the height, just how, if you're afraid of heights, it could mess with you and give a bit of that anxiety. There's other scenes I thought there were some faults to it, some logic gaps, among other stuff. I didn't hate the film. It was watchable, but I didn't love it either. But it wasn't god-awful or anything. I might have not been huge on it, but it's worth a watch for people who see the trailer and are intrigued by it. You could do a lot worse. You could do better, you do a lot worse. So, even, again, that may be the weakest of his I've seen, but I really haven't seen so far one he's done that was a total piece of crap. So Scott Mann, what he does in the future, I would be curious about. And it's nice that he at least gave, after determined 2 more films that was worthwhile. Marco Brambilla, he did Demolition Man. I'm like, come on, the guy did Demolition Man. He also did Excess Baggage with Alicia Silverstone and Benicio del Toro, which I remember not hating the film. But then after those 2, he didn't do anything much. He did Dinotopia, which is a miniseries from 2002, and then just short films. And apparently, 2021, he did a short film called Heaven's Gate. Nothing to do with the cult and stuff. This is a different Heaven's Gate. But just saw short films that he's done on IMDb. So he really hasn't done any feature films since, I guess, the 2000s. But it is a bit crazy to me that the guy who did Demolition Man, he didn't really get much else for a career, but, what can you do? Ben Ramsey, I put him on the list because he did Blood and Bone with Michael Jai White. Seems like a nice guy. I remember when I reviewed the film long ago, either it was him or someone pretend. I don't know why someone would pretend to be him, but it could always happen on YouTube. But I think it was supposed to be him comment on the. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you liked the movie, man. I'm like, that was really nice. He also wrote The Big Hit, which is a Mark Wahlberg film I do like with Lou Diamond Phillips. Has nice blend of humor and some John Woo type of theatrics. I like The Big Hit. He did write that Dragon Ball Evolution movie, which is horrible. But as a director, I did like Blood and Bone. It's still one of Michael Jai White's best movies. And sadly, he hasn't directed really any films other than short films. He did 2 sci-fi short films. He did one called Black Salt and one called Interface. And again, they're both sci-fi, which is interesting. Him getting into sci-fi. But again, they're short films. I think they're like 30 minutes at most. And they're probably... A lot of times people make short films to hopefully get people enticed. Oh, okay, I see potential. Let's give you money to make a full-length film. But that never came to be. So sadly, Ben Ramsey never directed another full film. Mark DiSalle is an interesting one. I put him on the list back in the day because I'm like, the guy did Kickboxer, and he did The Perfect Weapon, and he never directed again. Well, there may be a reason for that, because if you look up interviews, it seems like Mark DiSalle didn't really direct those movies. He was a producer, he produced Bloodsport, he produced Kickboxer, but apparently a guy named David Worth supposedly directed Kickboxer. Because there's an interview where David Worth was a cinematographer, and he mentioned he directed most of the film. Mark DiSalle was just there to, talk with people, maybe look through the camera. But I really directed it all. And then the week before it's going to go out, he took credit. And then I've heard rumors that he didn't really direct The Perfect Weapon. Someone else did. I don't know who that person is. I'm like, was that David Worth as well? And I don't know if it's true, but again, it sounds like the George Cosmatos thing, where apparently Sylvester Stallone really directed Rambo vs. Blood Part 2, and apparently other people directed Tombstone and not, like Caruso, and not George Cosmatos. So it might be the fact that Mark DiSalle was in the same thing where his name's attached, but he didn't really direct those 2 films. So if that's the case, yeah, cross him off the list. And I wonder if that's one of the reasons why you don't have special editions of Kickboxer and why there's no interviews for The Perfect Weapon. But be honest, it's been this many years, but maybe they're afraid of getting sued. But if it's not slander, then fuck them. John McTiernan, I mean, it's John McTiernan. That's why I put him on there. He did Predator. He did Die Hard. The last film he directed was in 2003 called Basic, which I saw in the theater, and I liked the film. I know a lot of people don't like it because of the twist. They feel the twist is ridiculous. And I can understand you take a bit of a leap of faith with people doing this, and like, just, what the hell? But I saw it in the theater, and I thought it was kind of a funny twist, and John Travolta, Samuel Jackson, was it Connie Nielsen? I think she would later be in the Wonder Woman movies. I'm trying to remember who else was in it. I had fun with it. That was a type of mind games, manipulation that I had more fun with than other people did. And I actually, as contrived as the ending is, it got some entertainment out of me. And yeah, that was the last film he did, because before that he did that awful Rollerball remake, which I don't know what the hell the deal with that film was. But yeah, he didn't really direct anything else because, number one, those films bombed. Rollerball deserved a bomb. Basically, I thought it was a fun movie, but it bombed as well. And then I believe he went to jail in 2013. The story I heard, if I'm wrong, feel free to comment, was that he illegally wiretapped, I think, the producer of Rollerball, like someone involved with the Rollerball remake, because there was a lot of shit going on with that movie. It was probably why that movie sucked so badly, including having an entire scene in night vision for like no apparent reason. Like the entire scene is in night vision, green night vision, and it seems like for no fucking reason. Like that movie, man. What is? But the story I heard was that John McTiernan wiretapped someone involved with the higher ups of Rollerball remake. It was found out he got in shit trouble. He got arrested. He was in jail. And I think it was 2013. He got out 2014, but he was under house arrest. And then I've heard that he doesn't really want to direct anymore because the type of movies he did, like Die Hard and Predator, like they don't really make those kind of movies anymore. But then there was another thing where he was going to direct a film. It was going to be a sci-fi film with Uma Thurman and Lawrence Fishburne. It was called Tout CC Foxtrot, which I don't know about that title, but something about mercenaries or someone going after rebels or something on another planet. I don't remember the exact. I'm sure I got the plot synopsis wrong, but it sounded like an action sci-fi film. Which I'm like, okay, the last time we saw, well, actually, Sally would have been the Rollerball remake. So, yeah, I don't really look forward to it. I think that it got delayed, maybe for good, and maybe that's a good thing. Because number one, John McTiernan is 72 years old. I think it's just too late. Number two, look how many directors have tried to come back. You know, John Woo did that film, and I always forget the damn title, because I thought it sucked. I still forget it. Ridley Scott came back for Prometheus and Alien Covenant and this awful stuff. Kevin Smith came back for Clerks 3. I mean, he wasn't gone too long, but he went back to his Clerks cycle, and look how that turned out. A lot of people love it. Well, good for you. I thought it was a piece of shit. Nah, I don't want... he's 72 years old. Just enjoy, be retired. And, yeah. Number 8, I put Joseph Merhi. I picked his name because he was involved with PM Entertainment, which was a company that had a lot of these type of action films back in the day. They were kind of, in a way, the successors to Canon films. With the type of films they were making, where it'd be low budget, but it'd be some crazy action and stunt sequences that would be involved in some of these films. And I picked Joseph Merhi because I thought he made some of the better ones. He directed Riot with Gary Daniels, which is my favorite Gary Daniels film. Has him and Sugar Ray Leonard. Pretty much the city gets to a riot, and him and Sugar Ray Leonard are the boxers kicking everybody's ass. And I think Patrick Kilpatrick from Death Warrant, he's the villain in the film. I really like Riot. Zero Tolerance is a very underrated Robert Patrick film, where his family gets killed and he takes revenge. If you like Robert Patrick, definitely check out Zero Tolerance. I would say he's easily one of his most underrated films. And then Last Man Standing with Jeff Wincott, which I think is one of Jeff Wincott's best movies. And it's not the Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis. This is one which, again, has some really good action fight scene stunt work for its budget. And yeah, Joseph Merhi directed all those. And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to see him come back again. Really, all I saw was that he produced a couple films I never heard of, and dealt with some show called The Jada Grace Show. Didn't know anybody in the cast. Only lasted for 12 episodes. and then couldn't find a single thing about him. So, I guess retirement, time has passed, so just nothing's going to come up with him. And so we get to the last three. Rick Avery. I picked him because he did a film I truly enjoyed, Deadly Outbreak with Jeff Speakman. It's one of my all-time favorite direct-to-video action films. Because I get a kick out of it. It's my kind of movies. Jeff Speakman's a badass. You got Ron Silver from Time Cop as your villain. You got not cars, but go-kart chases and tunnels. You got fisticuffs, tempo, kicking people's ass, shooting people in the balls and asking if they got their bulletproof cup. You got explosions, shootouts, fun lines. That's not practicing safe sex. It's a fun time, entertaining time. I'm like, okay, Rick Avery, he's a guy who dealt with stunts. He was a stunt man, stunt coordinator. This guy knew his job well on that front. Now, one thing I should mention is I mentioned in that older video that, well, he did The Expert. It wasn't that good. It still isn't that good. But now I know a little bit more info on that film. The Expert with Jeff Speakman was a film before this. Rick Avery's name was attached to it, but he was not the full director. The Expert was directed by William Lustig for a chunk of it. The guy who did Maniac, Maniac Cop, Vigilante, Robert Forster, Uncle Sam. And then apparently in the middle of it, him and the producers, as well as him and Jeff Speakman, really battled it out. And William Lustig will later on say, oh, Jeff Speakman needs to take 2 plane tickets, one for him and one for his ego. And William Lustig says something like, oh, Jeff Speakman wanted to not have a lot of violence in the movie. Jeff Speakman, I know once in a while he gets interviewed and they only talk about The Perfect Weapon. I love The Perfect Weapon. I do. I love it. But I want someone to interview the guy and talk about this film, what the fuck happened with William Lustig, or I should say that film, The Expert. I really want to talk about Deadly Outbreak. And also Land the Free, because he worked with William Shatner. And that's actually one of my other favorite Jeff Speakman films. So I want to hear about those movies and those stories. But I don't know, if I ever somehow interviewed Jeff Speakman, I would ask him that. But so apparently, yeah, William Lustig left, got fired, whatever, and then they brought in Rick Avery, because again, he's a stunt guy, coordinator, alternating, worked with the action. The guy is willing to take the job, to get a directing job, maybe the Director's Guild, however you want to put it. And The Expert just isn't that good of a movie. There's not that much action. There's a little bit in a prison at the end. The most notable part is Jim Varney, Ernest P. Worrell himself, plays a very different type of role as a gun runner who's like a very tough guy and is selling guns to Jeff Speakman. I wish he was in the film more, and like Beat a Fat Ernest movies, I'm like, wow, this is different. But yeah, Deadly Outbreak though, love the movie. Love the film. Needs a Blu-ray. Come on, MVD or Vendor Syndrome. Sorry, Vendor Syndrome, that you want to do stuff, classics like Showgirls. Which, to be fair, people did buy that, so business-wise is a smart decision. But Flesh Eater, Curse of the Blue Lights. I'm sure my friend Michael CP, if you ever see him, ask him about Curse of Blue Lights. I'm sure he'll love that movie. Getting a fucking Blu-ray 4K, whatever the hell. Because my friend Mike reviewed the film, and someone worked on the film got pissed at him, saying it sucked. And it's like, well, it did suck. But yeah, Rick Avery, sadly, he didn't direct anymore. He's went back to stunts. And apparently he was a helicopter pilot in Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man movie. He was Robert De Niro's stunt double in The War with Grandpa. So that was interesting. But yeah, he never directed again, sadly. And then Kurt Wimmer and Fred Decker. Just... Kurt Wimmer had put on it because he did One Man's Justice, also known as One Tough Bastard, with Brian Bosworth. One of the only good Brian Bosworth films. Stone Cold is number 1. One Man's Justice is number 2. Those are the only two, in my opinion, good Brian Bosworth movies that he starred in. That he was the lead in. And then he did Equilibrium. I really enjoy Equilibrium. I know a lot of people don't like Equilibrium nowadays because they don't like the gun kata. They think it's silly. I really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite Christian Bale performances. It's a typical story, the 1984 dystopian. You're controlled. We gotta destroy art. Lack of emotion. It's a way of control. But someone's fighting the system. But I thought it was such a unique way of detailing the action. I thought Kurt Wimmer had a good energy to it. Like when all the guards are around him and Christian Bale gets the butt of the guns and there's like these nails that extend. He's beating the shit out of him and like hitting through the helmets and you see bits of blood flying out and the way he does the gun katas. It felt different and unique in terms of action scenes that felt refreshing. I thought Christian Bale sold his performance extremely well, and I still think that's a very underrated movie. Underrated action film. But sadly, Kurt Wimmer shit the bed. Because first he did that Mila Jovovich film, Ultraviolet. Yeah, you feel like you took a bunch of UV rays to the brain after watching that piece of shit. And then he helped write the Total Recall remake. He helped write the Point Break remake. He directed the new Children of the Corn film that has a good 3.6 on IMDb. Because we needed more Children of the Corn films. There weren't enough Children of the Corn films. There's only been, 14 or 15 or 35 or 87 of them. We needed another Children of the Corn movie. And it's just called Children of the Corn. And Kurt Wimmer directed it. I'm like, dude, do you need a job that badly to do a Children of the Corn part? I don't know how many they made. 10? 12? Children of the Corn is not a franchise that should have been made into a franchise. And now, apparently, he's one of the writers on Expendables 4. Yeah, I really look forward to that. Expendables 4, baby, this year. With the great news. Who we don't got? Who don't get got in Expendables 4? We got Jason Statham. He's going to be the lead now. We got Dolph Lundgren, who has been a joke since the second movie, character-wise. And we got Megan Fox. And we got 50 Cent. And we got Chuck Norris would never come back. He's retired. Arnold Schwarzenegger ain't coming back. Stallone's not going to be in it much because he's going to be in a little bit and leave the rest to Jason Statham. Stallone's not going to be in it much. There's no Jet Li. You never don't have Jackie Chan in there. You never don't have Dwayne Johnson or Vin Diesel or that Van Damme's twin brother. Because Van Damme's character died in Expendables 2 to use the villain. Do you have Van Damme in there as a brother? No. No Jeff Speakman. No, nobody. That's just... That is going to be a shit show. Like, damn. Anyway, that's what he's doing. He's one of the writers of Expendables 4. Well, I mean, if the writer of Total Recall remake, Lens Flare of the movie, told us everything, and his Children of Corn movie, they got a 3.6 IMDb. Yep, that just showcases Yeah, he's off the list. And number 11, Fred Decker. That's for me putting him on the list. And that's for me thinking he could be worth the shit. I liked the Monster Squad. I don't mind Night of the Creeps. But he did RoboCop 3 and it was awful. Now, to be fair, he's never really directed it again, but he has written. And that's The Predator. From 2018. And he got mad at people for not liking it. Saying, well, come on, you guys, you're too mean, and you're too this and that, and blah, 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 blah. You're too mean. And I'm sitting there going, Fred, the script is literally, you wrote a character, you and Shane Black and Decker, you took your power tools, and you tore apart the Predator mythos and said, we're now going to fight the Predator with the power of autism. I mean, you say, oh, that's a bad joke. That's not a joke. That is the script. How am I wrong? The Predators don't hunt for sport anymore. They're hunting for a kid because his autism spectrum will give him some kind of power to make them stronger. From his DNA, his spinal fluid, whatever the hell it is. That is what they wrote. Also, writing, I'm hungry for some Asperger's. Wrote a scene where the kid puts on the Predator helmet, and now it automatically will shoot things. Did you think the Predator, well, he's aiming it because he's a hunter. No, it automatically does it on its own, apparently. Not him aiming it with his, it's sci-fi technology. No, just does it on its own. And then he accidentally murders a guy. And he thinks nothing of it. Instead, he just blew up a guy in the house. And he turns around to some boys and goes, you want some? I'm like, you're what, 10 years old, kid? You just murdered a guy and that's all you gotta think? And then later on he lectures his dad. Dad, no killing. I'm like, you killed someone and all you did was this. This is a script you wrote, Fred Decker. That's the script you wrote. And if that's what you're writing, then God forbid what happens when you're directing. So, yeah, you're off the list as well. So when I look at this list, Steve Wayne, Sally, and Michael David, like a lot of these people just, Hollywood or whoever gave up on them. Didn't get their second chances. And the best some of them could get is short films or makeup work. Mark DiSalle apparently didn't really direct it, these movies. Kurt Wimmer and Fred Decker made fools of themselves, in my opinion, with Total Recall remakes and Predator Fight with the Power of Autism. John McTiernan, I think he just enjoy retirement. You've done a lot for the action industry, more than a lot of people have. So Predator and Die Hard alone. Plus you got The Hunt for Red October. You got Last Action Hero, which I think is a fun movie. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Damn good sequel. You've done a lot. And really the guy with potential would be Scott Mann. So, go figure. So that said, thanks for watching. Take care. This was fun. So I take a trip down memory lane. And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.